Welcome everyone to the What It Is podcast, episode 9. I'm Rexamillion. I'm here with T and Cass. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
What up? Good, man. What it is?
Good. It's a beautiful day out here in Baltimore. I'll tell you that.
Yes, it is.
It's something.
Yeah, definitely sunny and So T, you want to tell us what our topic is for today?
Today's topic is self-destruction. No. We are going to talk about pride today. So everybody knows, or typically has some kind of idea as to what pride is. And I'm going to go over like the basic definition of it, perhaps give some causes, and I just want to put out there too, I am no expert. I feel like sometimes when I talk about topics related to things like this, trust me, God, I just want to put that disclaimer out there for everybody. I am no expert.
You start blowing up your phone.
Whenever I speak about things, it is generally things of interest and also things I may have experienced or researched.
Yeah.
So that's just about it.
I mean, that goes for all of us. We speak on. Yeah, it's our own personal experience. It's our thoughts. It's our opinions. None of this is, you know what I mean? That's what it is. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so pride is not only, like, we all know that it's one of, or most know, or some know, it's one of the 7 deadly sins. But ironically, in my research, I found out, because I never knew this, I don't know if you guys did, that not only is it one of the 7 deadly sins, but it's also one of the most serious ones.
Okay.
Out of the 7, which I did not know. That was interesting.
T, can you give us the other 6?
The other 6?
The other 6 deadly sins? No, I'm joking. You don't have to if you want to.
Oh, well, I could break it down for you, but
I'm just thinking about that movie 7. Remember that movie 7?
I love that movie.
It just popped in my head. Like, what's in the box?
No, you gotta say it. No, you gotta say it like him.
Oh yeah, what's in the box?
What's in the box? You gotta say it like him.
What's in the box?
Sorry about that. I couldn't help myself. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But that is an interesting and one of the best movies.
It is a really good movie.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
So the definition is, let's see. It is, okay. It's considered on almost every list the original and most serious of the 7 deadly sins. Out of the 7 is the most angelical or demonic. It is also thought to be the source of the other capital sins. It is identified as dangerously corrupt selfishness, the putting of one's own desires, urges, wants, and whims before the welfare of other people. So it went on to say that in even more destructive cases, it is irrationally believing that one is essentially and necessarily better, superior, or more important than others, failing to acknowledge the accomplishments of others, and excessive admiration of the personal image or self, especially forgetting one's own lack of divinity and refusing to acknowledge one's own limits, faults, or wrongs as a human being. Now, see, that's the one that ties into one that I think we're all familiar with. But then this quote that definitely resonated with me. It said, "What the weak head with strongest bias rules is pride, the never failing vice of fools," which I thought that was kind of dope. My mind,
Yeah.
So some causes of it, it's just some of them. I didn't go through all of them, but I just felt like we can touch base on what some causes are. One is fear of humility, fear of vulnerability, low self-esteem, and then some of them was like, having a hard time apologizing, blame shifting, gaslighting. Oh yeah, gaslighting, definitely.
For sure.
And then some people oversell themselves when feeling insecure. Whether that's in their job, friendships, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's like, for me, I've always attributed pride to being very destructive behavior or trait. It's just, to me, it's like, it never, it's like you hear the saying, a person will cut off their nose despite their face.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, and when, you know, I mean, just that alone, I mean, anybody who would be willing to do, not, you know, literally that, but, you know, allowing their pride to oversee anything else, they don't, whether they realize it or not, you're always going to be on the losing end.
Right.
Whether it's like in making money and lifestyle and relationships, whatever, family. If that's what you're going to, if that's your go-to, if your ego is more to protect other than keeping a relationship going, let's just go. Like, for me, I always tie it to relationships. It's just so much easier for me. I don't know about you guys, but I've seen pride show up a lot. I didn't used to be overly prideful, but pride definitely used to come out within me and my relationships. Years, I mean, I've since grown from that, but it definitely did. Like, where I would feel like it showed up for me, like there could be times if I didn't want to apologize, even if I did something wrong, or I would know it was wrong, I wouldn't want to apologize because I'm like, oh, that's going to make me look some kind of way if I go apologize.
Right. Right.
So then, in order to smooth things over, then you just put on the charm, so to speak, or try to go over it so that you don't have to be faced with having to apologize.
Right. Right.
And then I got into a relationship where one thing I learned from that person was that the relationship should be bigger than anything else. And then that's when I started to incorporate it. It's like, you can't put pride above your relationship because you're going to lose every time.
Right.
Just get vulnerable. Vulnerability is another thing that ties in. When people, it's just said it, one of the causes is fear of vulnerability. So, you know.
It's like pride is self-preservation. You know?
Yeah.
It's trying to preserve yourself. It's
absolutely,
it's selfish. It's a very selfish thing. But one thing that came to my mind when you were talking about the 7 deadly sins, like before I kind of get into, like, I guess my experiences, like, I'll just put this out there for, I don't know, like, viewers, whether you're Christian, whatever your faith is, whatever. But, you know, in the Bible, they talk about Lucifer, Satan, who was the angel of music, and he went against God, and he was the only angel who went against him, and he got cast down to earth. You know, so it was pride that, you know, it was pride that made him stand up against God and thought that he knew better than God, and it was pride that got him cast down from heaven. So, you know, take that, whatever, you know, like, I'm not trying to get into, like, you know, people have their own faiths and spirituality and religions and all that, but that's just something that the Bible says. That's a story from the Bible, from Christianity. So I just think that's interesting when you brought up, like, the 7 deadly sins. You know, there's
actually in this one, when I was doing research, that actually came up into it about the devil, and it's like, I didn't kind of want to. I know it's not to say that not to talk about faith and religion or whatever.
It could be
in this
taboo
context,
for some people,
right? It can be, and I didn't want to give the impression that this whole topic was going to be geared around that, because it's not. But in that research, it definitely did speak about that.
I think it just goes to show, to, like, the seriousness of it, because when people think of, like, you know, like, God and Satan, like, however, whatever you believe, whether you don't believe in that or you believe in something else or a higher power, like, whenever you go back to, like, the Bible or Christianity, that's just a story that I think a lot of people are familiar with, and it involves pride. And it's like God, who is in the Bible the highest power, and the enemy who is on the other side, but he got there and got cast down. He was the only angel who got cast down because of his pride. You know what I mean? So I think it just speaks to how important and dangerous pride is. You know what I mean? When you have a story like that involving, you know, God and Satan or whatever. So that's all, you know. But
you wanted to say something, Cass?
Yeah.
I thought.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
but that's why I always, in my mind, I've always had it and relate to it as being destructive, because nothing good can come from it.
Right.
If you allow it to rule you or be a major part in how you move, no positivity can really come from it.
Right.
And there's a big difference between, I think people would say that having self-esteem or your self-worth or what have you, they will try to tie that into being pride. So like, it's, you know what I mean? And it's not. There's stark differences.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, don't use pride as don't even try to don't use it that way, because that's not even what it is. Pride is something where, like, when you're trying to stick up for yourself and show self-worth, that's one thing. That's a positive. When you're trying to be prideful because you don't want to be vulnerable and you don't want, like, people will seriously lose a relationship, friendship.
Yeah, let somebody walk out their life.
Yeah, or because they just don't want to admit that they're wrong.
Right.
Or anything, or even apologize. Even something as simple as apologizing.
Yeah, when they know in their heart they're wrong, or they have fault in it, they won't even break for that. And,
right.
That's pretty sad.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a strong force that keeps people from doing the things that they really need to be doing or that they should be doing. Like, it can really hold people back from, like, a lot of opportunities in life, and a lot of different areas. Like, I think pride plays a big role in, like, a lot of things, because it could be like anger. Your pride can drive you to anger, to violence. You know what I mean? It can do a lot of things that drive you to certain like really toxic behaviors. So. But
I think it's pretty prevalent in depending on, like, where you grow up or where you live, depending on, like, the surroundings. Like, you're around a bunch of people who carry themselves that way. You adapt to that in a way where you feel like you have to do it to survive. And then you get into other situations where it's not even a necessary thing, and you don't know how to turn it off.
That's a good point, Cass. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
We were discussing that. Me and Cass, me and you were discussing it the other day on the phone, or yesterday.
Yeah.
We were talking about how. Well, we were kind of tying it into, like, toxic masculinity. To where, like, or manhood, or not healthy manhood, but the manhood that is the false perception, or the basically, you could grow up in an environment, around other men. Like, say you don't have a father figure, or you do have a father figure who's not teaching you the adequate way to handle, manhood, or being a man, or being masculine. Right. You know what I mean? Because they have a perverted image of. They were raised with a perverted image of what manhood is and being masculine is. They can hand it down to their kids, or you have someone who didn't grow up, with a father, so they're getting it from their social surroundings, other men,
exactly,
and so they grow up in certain scenarios where, if there's a lot of pride in that situation, and that space that they're in, that they grow up in, and if they show any type of vulnerability, weakness, then they are looked at as an outcast. You know what I mean? And so you find yourself in a situation where it's like, if it's survival, because this is the environment that you're in and that you're growing up in, and you want to be accepted. I mean, most people in social situations, they want to be accepted, they want to be embraced. You know what I mean? And if you feel like being vulnerable, showing your weaknesses, is going to keep you from being embraced from that situation, then you're going to turn to, just whatever you have to do to be accepted, which is survival. In that situation would be a survival instinct. And then it turns into a stronghold. And it is based around pride, because it's based around what you think a man is supposed to be. What you may get it from entertainment, pop culture as well. You know what I mean? Hip hop culture. There's a lot of so that can be a thing as well.
Yep, indeed, I agree.
Yeah,
I never understood why or where that perception comes from of being a man, like, and one of those being not showing vulnerability.
Originally,
it goes a long way back.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to pinpoint exactly where it comes from.
Yeah.
But like what it creates in a young boy that then becomes a man, oh my goodness, it creates such, oh my gosh, what's the word? It creates such a struggle. It's like a struggle within, you know what I mean? Like
a stronghold.
Like how can you?
Yeah.
And then also I think, and I was thinking about this today too, it's like, I don't think a lot of people think about who they are raising, what they are raising with a young boy, young girl, that someday this person is going to be out in this world, is going to be somebody's partner, somebody's spouse. Like, we all know, like in our homes, we get taught, show respect. Like you show us respect, like our parents or elders always was like, you show respect to us. But there's a lot of people that push that to say, show me this respect. You're always supposed to show respect here, but then you don't even teach them how to show it to others or how to deal with other people.
Right.
So like all they know is that, to the point where when they become an adult, they'll even deal with toxic behavior from parents and elders and all because of the loyalty, so to speak, you're keeping to your family. And even when they could be wrong, they could be dead wrong or something.
You're
going to show that loyalty because you were taught to protect them and not really have relationships with somebody else or other people.
They're the protege. They're the protege of who they were being raised by. Like, you know what I mean? Like my kids are my protege. All of our kids are our protege. You know what I mean? And if we're not doing it right, there's a very high chance that our children will, it'll become a cycle. We'll pass it on to them. So.
That's true. So, in my experience, I never thought of myself as a prideful person, but there are situations where you might not realize that's what it is, but then, like, say, I'm dealing with something like, my depression or just, mental illness, anything like that, where it's like, it comes off, as far as society, like, or, in our community, it's like taboo to get help or, ask for help or let somebody know, like, hey, I'm not right, I'm not good, just that goes that far. So like it'd be times where I'm not feeling the best, and I kind of like, I don't share that information with my significant other, or I keep it to myself. And when they ask about it, you're like, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine. And it's like just dealing with it internally, which isn't the best way. And then one thing that can really remedy that, at least for me, when it comes down to it, is having children. Like, they teach you, that how bad that could be. They teach you that you want to kind of like let go of that, because you want to teach them to be when they're wrong, you want them to say sorry. Like, if I'm wrong, if I did something wrong, I'm gonna apologize for my part in it, or If it was all me, whatever, I'm going to take responsibility for it, because you want them to mimic that kind of behavior, you know? So you want to lead by that example, and, you know, you want to share with them like, hey, you know, not even just telling them, but just living it, you know? So like if there's some, oh, sorry, you know, even in times of discipline and stuff, you really feel like, you know, you might have done it like, you might have felt like it was harsh, even if they didn't even feel like it, but you know in your heart, like, oh, that was a little harsh. You know, I'll apologize if I felt like, you know, if I felt in my heart that that wasn't right, you know, or I felt in my heart, oh, this part, you know, such and such. But for me, that is not an issue anymore, because, you know, I'm open about things with my significant other, and, you know, when it comes down to the kids, like, if they do stuff to each other, like I got two boys, they fight, you know, stuff like that. When they do stuff to each other, make them apologize to each other. It's like, it's so difficult. Like,
I know my boys, same here. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, they're young, and it's like, where does that come from? You know, you're not learning that from me.
It's
You know,
true.
what is that?
That's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Where are they getting that from at that age?
Yeah.
When, I mean,
it'd be interesting to ask them too.
Why they feel that way? Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, like, is it in us, or is it taught?
I don't know. Is it,
You know?
human nature, like instinct, like what?
I mean, human nature a lot of times dictates, like, if you were hurt by something, you will guard yourself in many ways against that, you know. But I don't know. I beg the question, what exactly is that? I mean, at a young age, why is it so difficult for you to apologize to that particular person? And do you have that same problem with your peers?
Right.
I personally can't see them doing that, apologizing to their peers. Really, I can't picture it either. So I remember one time a son was telling me that it was his friend got mad and did something where he kind of like lost his cool, and, you know, I asked him, you know, when you talked to him the next day or whatever, did he say anything about it? And he's like, no. It's like they just keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? Like me, like me, if I did something, you know, I'm gonna apologize. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, at that age, is it a matter of being able to process those kind of feelings, or
That could be it. Maybe it's they're just predisposed to it, and like it's up to their parent or guardian, you know, or their, you know, person who's raising them to really
to take that moment
to
teach them,
or to guide them correctly, to say, hey, you know, you're dealing with this, and we're going to show you the correct way to process it. And then you have some parents who, like, well, don't show them any way to process it, and some who show them the wrong way to process it, you know, or like discovering on your own how you're going to process it, and you're searching for a way, but then you stumble upon the wrong way, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, I grew up with the way I grew up. That didn't happen. If my mom did something, or there was no apologies. If somebody in my family did something that was out the way, or, you know, there was no apologies. You know what I mean? There wasn't even talk. There was no talking about it. You know, that's just you just move past it, or at least you think you do.
Yeah.
And I think that's how people grow. It grows into their personalities because of what they saw. So, because I was thinking when you were talking about that and saying, where does it come from? Is it human? Is it our human nature? And I was like, my first thought is to say no, for the simple fact of, when you see a baby, babies are like the most purest form. That's our most purest form. So and as a child, like when we grow up, we won't, like, I can remember, like, if we did something, going to kiss, you kiss your sibling on the cheek, or you didn't show that if you saw that they were hurt by something, or if we hurt them, even at that young age. So I think when they go beyond that, and then you get out into the world, or you get around friends, or even in relatives, it's then behaviors you're now taking on because you're now seeing it. That's what I think.
Sponges, like kids are like sponges. Like, and it's interesting some of the stuff that they pick up that you don't even think that they even are paying attention to, or you know what I mean, little stuff that they say or mannerisms and stuff. It's very fascinating, you know what I mean? Because
you're right. It's like you see you around adults as you get older, and in your household and your families, they know a lot of times they're not apologizing unless you like had adults around you that really were healthy emotionally like that, and they're teaching it to the children that's coming up in the family. But you're right. It's like that vulnerability, people shy away from it. And I think it comes from different, or it's for different reasons. Like not to put yourself out there because you think someone's going to take you for granted, or throw it back in your face, or but that's why it's important to know who you are around. But then there's also situations where the people show you like you're safe with me, but it's just so much embedded in them for that pride. It's hard to break through that wall.
It's so uncomfortable. Like, and that discomfort is like, people don't want to face their discomfort. A lot of people just do not want to face that. And it can be those feelings. It's just, for a lot of people, it's until you actually learn how to like process them and deal with them. It's going to be, and even when you start to learn, like, it's going to be uncomfortable for a while until you start to, get used to it. But I just think that discomfort for a lot of people is just unbearable. You know what I mean? And they've just never really faced it.
And you really never know or realize just how many people struggle with that until you're in relationships with people. Like relationships force you to either learn a lot about yourself or a lot about somebody else.
And that's what I was saying. Yeah, relationships, kids will do that. It'll humble you.
If you
just
let
because
it.
Yes, because I grew up in a family that just very prideful people, and I didn't see that very much. I think me and my cousins and stuff, we definitely, well, some of them, we work on that, that particular thing, like my bad, or if there's something but that generation, like the generation before us and stuff, no, or before them, like no, none of that. I've never heard my grandfather say I'm sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think I ever heard that either. Think about it, because my grandfather was a super proud person. He was very prideful. And I like, one of my biggest fears is like anytime I experience something and I feel like I see him in myself, that's scary for me. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to get older. I know I'm not going to get older and be like him, but even just having any type of like anything that reminds me of him, and me displaying that toward like my family or my boys, it's like that's terrifying for me, because just knowing how he seemed like such an unhappy person as he got older, you know what I mean? And I don't want, to me it's just like poison. Like I don't want any part of that. I don't want that in my body, you know what I mean? Like, so I try to really do a lot of I try to be very self-aware and do a lot of searching, and like really try to be aware of my thoughts and my feelings and stuff like that. And I have been over the years. I've come a long way. But I mean, I guess since I'm talking about this, I guess
cognitive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I did bring up, self-preservation. That pride is very selfish. It tries to preserve itself. And when you're in a relationship and you're trying to preserve yourself, you're not working 50-50. You're not You know what I mean? You're not working with that person. You know what I mean? You're not putting your all of your side in. You know what I mean? So for me, you know, my experiences, and I guess I'll just like for me, a lot of it was, you know, with my wife early on before we got married. It was a lot of trying to get myself to a place where, and I think a lot of men do this. We hear about this a lot. And men try to do this. It's just like we want to get ourselves. We have we're with someone. They're a good person. We know they're a good person, but before we actually settle down and go all in with that person or commit, whatever you want to call it, like a lot of men will try to, or I know from my personal experience, I wanted to be at a certain place in my life where I felt like I was happy and ready to settle down. You know what I mean? Like, okay, once I get here, once I accomplish this, once I do this, then I feel like I'm quote unquote man enough or
wow, yeah,
you know what I mean, to be able to take care of this woman. You know what I mean? And that was my thought process for many years. But in reality, I never. In reality, it was like I wasted a lot of years trying to get there. When it was like I could have really just invested in this relationship, and we could have done it together. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But you know, if I take my mindset back to that time period, I was naive. I didn't know that, you know, I really thought that I was gonna, and I don't know, however a couple years get to that point, and then she was just gonna stick around, and then I was going to
wait for all that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I wish I could go back in time and, you know, tell my younger self that, you know, no, you know, but I didn't know that, you know, but that was pride, because it was me trying to get to where I felt like I needed to be, you know, in my mind. I set standards for myself that I was trying to reach. And it wasn't even like she was asking me to be, you know, achieve those standards. It was me trying to achieve those standards. So it was self-preservation for me. You know what I mean? When she wasn't even putting that pressure on me, it was me putting that pressure on myself. You know what I mean? But I think that I think a lot of guys do that. You know, and unfortunately, you waste a lot of years. You can lose people, and you waste a lot of time. You know, so that was a big issue for me. I went through a lot of internal hurt and pain with myself, a lot of sabotaging myself and being very hard on myself. You know what I mean? And trying to, you know, set these standards. So that's, you know, that's been a you know, that was an issue for me. You know, so.
And then all along, you had a partner there willing to go along that walk with you.
Exactly.
And a lot of people and I've been that woman in that scenario. Completely, 100%. I've been the woman in that scenario where I've experienced that, where I was told that that's what they wanted to do. You know, you know, wanted to have themselves at a particular space before marriage or what have you, and then it's like you said, those years just go by.
They go by fast. They go by fast too. They go by real fast, you know.
And then you've wasted so much of this time when all along, because I've never had that perception where I have to be at a particular point before I take on a partner. I've never had that thought, because I always looked at it like the person that I choose to be with, and we're already in alignment with each other. We can do this together. We can go and get married, you know, whatever, and do this together and build this life together. I don't need to have X amount of, you know, dollars in the bank. I have to be in this certain status before this guy is going to be my spouse.
Right.
I do know there seems to be a lot of men that think that way, because I mean, it must be attributed, like you said, to the pride thing. I don't know.
I think the sad part is that, because I can speak for myself, you know, I have a good heart. I've always had a good heart, despite struggling with pride and despite the, you know, for bad decisions that I've made in the past. You know, I've always had a good heart, and my heart was in the right place. But why was I trying to reach these standards before? You know, when I had someone that wasn't putting that pressure on me, why was I putting that on myself? You know, like, because I wanted to really be this man who was like set up in this situation to where, you know, I could really bring like what I thought I needed to the table to take care of her. You know what I mean? But like, why did I think that way? You know what I mean? Like,
And you know what, Rex? Let me just interject real quick.
mm-hmm.
And then the funny thing about that is, she rode with you when you didn't have that.
Right.
Like, isn't that what people really should be looking at when they look at a person? She rode with you, took that walk with you, no matter what.
Right.
Whether you had, whether you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
That's a true test of somebody. Like, seriously, that's the person you want in your corner. They're not pressuring you. Like, for me, it was enough. Like, I couldn't, when I was with this person, it was like, I didn't want to be with nobody else. I didn't care what situation we was in, what scenario we was in. Yo, that is my person. I always knew we're going, if we want these things, like you said, this certain standard, if we truly want those things, that's going to happen. But that hands down is going to happen. I never would have a worry about that, right? But then on the flip side to that, it's like, as the woman in that scenario, it's like you're giving yourself to this person. You riding for them. You riding with them. You're taking that walk with them. So everything they're going through, you're going through it too, right?
Yeah.
But then the woman aspect is like, but along that walk, I'm experiencing not so great things with that person. Like, why, if you see that I'm taking this walk with you, why are you subjecting me to things that are not great? Like, I'm that one person that has shown without a doubt that I'm going to stand by you, and I'm sure that's the same way it was with your wife.
And in my mind, I'm thinking like, you know, like, okay, if we're together, but I'm not giving it my all because I want to get to my own standards, and then I'm gonna like, okay, and then I'm gonna give it my all. You're still there with me regardless, so why not make the best of it and not the worst of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what just doesn't make, like, it makes sense to me now, you know, but back then it just, I didn't understand that, you know what I mean? And so that's a word for the men out there that are going through that. That's a word, because you know, because I you know, I know people like that, have, you know, associates like that, and you know, just seeing it from the outside, and I mean, they're older than me now. Like, I didn't know them back then, but you know, I've made friends with associates now, and I see them, and they're my age or older, and they're going through stuff that I was struggling with when I was in my 20s, you know, and then that's just heartbreaking for me, you know. And then I don't know, man. It just.
Well, now, was it all tied to that pride of that male pride of you wanting to reach a certain standard up within yourself, or full transparency, was there ever pieces of doubt, like, this may not be the person that I want to be with forever?
I think that,
you know.
Quiet. I think that at first it was kind of like, it was doubt, because I had a wall up, I had a guard up, because I was young and I was like, you know, I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm in that you know, my teens, early 20s, where I'm very social. I'm out there with my friends, and you know, but then it got to a point where I knew that, like, it got to a point where I was kind of like, okay, she's not going anywhere. She's a really good one. She's a very, very good woman. And, you know, it's like, I couldn't deny it. Put it this way, it got to the point where I just absolutely could not deny that any longer.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was the reality of it. And so when it got to that point, it was like, okay, you know, so I knew, but I still wanted to, you know, there were things about myself I just wasn't happy with, that I wasn't, you know, and I felt like if I get over there, and achieve these things, then I'll be ready. I'll be good. I'll be ready. You know what I mean? But, things don't work like that.
And it's all internal. It's not even you're not, and therefore you're like caught up on yourself and not thinking in terms of us.
Yeah. Self-preservation, very selfish. Very selfish mindset.
But what's so funny about that is like we all want that connection. We all yearn for that type of connection with someone that's willing to accept us for all that we are and all that we are not, like unconditionally accept us, right?
Yeah.
But when you're in a situation like that, there's no better time for that to be shown, because if you don't have the best of everything at that time, you've had many days that you were broke or you just didn't have it, man, and that person is still rocking with you.
That's the true test of a relationship.
So and then to say to them, well, you don't accept me, like you can't ever come out your mouth. It's like, you don't accept me for who I am. It's like, are you kidding me?
Right.
I feel because I'm sure along the way there has been opportunities to be with someone that possibly had more than this person, like, or whatever, right? But it was bypassed because, like, no, this is the person I'm rocking with.
Yeah.
When they didn't have much of anything.
I mean, the hardships are what really shows the strength of a relationship. It's just like going to the gym and tearing down your muscles and building them back up. The hardships are what gives you strength and makes you grow. But why do we always think that, like, we want, or not everybody, but why do certain people think that it's the getting to this point and then everything is good and then I'm ready and all this stuff? Like, well, you haven't really like, if you get let's just say hypothetically I did get to that place, you know what I mean, and I was able to take care of her the way that I felt like I needed to take care of her. Now what if I hit rock bottom a couple years after that? I wouldn't be, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be prepared for that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't, so it's like,
and she would still be there.
And that's the thing, so, and that would be an eye opener for me, and then I would be like, wait a minute here. I'm back to where I was before trying to get, so why did I just waste all that time? Like, you know what I mean? It was just.
Yeah, but chances are if you were thinking that way at the beginning, you would probably be thinking that way then too, and be prideful and then do it all over again.
It's true.
And then you got some more problems on top of that.
Yeah, you're right. So it's like a double, double work, like, so.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's always going to be hills and valleys. Valleys.
Always.
It's just always going to be that.
Yeah.
No matter what, life is life. Life is going to come at you. And that's why I said it. The true testament is looking through all those experiences you're going through. And if that person is still next to you without flinching, man, it's like, that's what it is. It's just like that movie. I can't, the title is escaping me at the moment, with the one with Viola Davis and Denzel.
Fences.
Yes.
Okay.
And that scene where he was like, I'm not, he was basically saying he ain't shit and, whatever. And she was like, but I've been there with you. Like, what are you talking about? I've been there when they were crying, when she was crying. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what it is. But his pride, like, he was very prideful in that movie.
Very.
Extremely prideful in that movie.
Very. Yeah.
But I'm saying, and she had she walked that walk with him.
True.
And he put her through a lot.
Go.
He had a baby on her, and I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's like people will show you who they are. But if you go through all of these years, you wasting this time with this person when that shouldn't even be the asset, because what you should be looking at is you should be looking for somebody, as we all should. You're looking for that person that's willing to walk no matter what that walk is with us. Period. Everything else, if you truly want something, it's going to happen, and you guys can do it together. But that's the key. You don't lose a good person that's willing to walk with you no matter up, down, sideways, whatever. Don't lose that person. I urge anybody out there watching this. Don't lose that person, because those type of people are not easy to find.
I agree. Yeah, I
They
wholeheartedly
are not
agree.
buses,
1 in a
seriously.
million.
Because
Yeah.
you're going to come across somebody that's going to feel like you should, it's just all types of things. There's a rainbow of things that other
Mm-hmm.
people that you may come across feel like, hey, you need to have XYZ before we
Mm-hmm.
get together.
Yeah.
It's like, but you have that person coming, like they say, from the dirt on up
Mm-hmm.
with you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lose that person, people. And I'm hoping some young people are watching this, because
Yeah.
it's like, if those are lessons you can learn, the earlier the better. Please
I
take heed.
totally agree. The earlier the better, for sure. Make that investment, early at a young age,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
time, like, when you're younger, you just, you think
Think
that,
you got forever.
yeah, you think you got forever. You know what I mean, and then you start to get up there, or just get. I mean, you didn't have to be up there, but just get older, and then you're just like, you know, you
Hmm.
you look back and you know,
But
Yeah.
then you go through that, and then you wake up one day and you like, dang, I lost a good one.
mm-hmm,
Like,
Hmm.
that person really was there for me. And sometimes it takes for situations like that. But I always urge people, life isn't as long as you think it is. Like, don't waste time based upon what you think is going to happen later. Like
mm-hmm,
you were saying, Rex, with
mm-hmm,
you just knew, I needed to get to a certain spot, a certain place. And then once
mm-hmm.
I did, I think it's arrogant of us to feel like we even have that time to begin with.
It's true. It's true,
Yeah.
because when I met my wife, I mean, I wasn't looking for a wife. I was 17 years old. I had no clue that I was gonna find this perfect girl, that, you know what I mean. I didn't know. It was a blind date. I met her. You know, and but it was just like, we hit it off, and we just started dating, and I didn't know where it was gonna go, but I damn sure wasn't ready for that. I'll just be straight up and honest. I wasn't ready for that.
Hmm.
But so, but I don't know. I'm blessed that I'm here, and we're together, and I love telling my story to people, because I just like to inspire people, and I like to just, I don't know, give people hope, whenever I can,
Mm-hmm.
and then just talk to
That's
you.
why we do this at all.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And talk to younger people, say, hey, just tell them, and tell them about the roller coaster, like you said, ups and downs, and everything that we've been through, and just, and then I have 3 boys, so what better way to, just
They
be
will someday be 3 different women, their husbands. So it's like,
Hmm.
whew.
mm-hmm,
Like,
Hmm.
that's what, with
yeah,
my daughter, I'm very transparent with her about things. Like, I
that's
can't just teach
great.
my daughter, things that she gonna learn in school. No, it's like, you gotta
Mm-hmm,
teach them things that's not gonna be taught in that
mm-hmm,
That's
school.
right.
absolutely,
That's
yeah,
right.
And being honest, like nowadays, I don't know why parents get so, like, oh, they're too young. They're just kids. They don't need to know X, Y, Z. And it's like,
no,
you know what they are learning when they look online
Yeah.
about
mm-hmm,
things?
Right.
mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
have easy
Or their
access to a
friends.
range of things. Right. Their friends too,
And
Kev.
their friends don't know what they're
Right.
talking about, you know what I mean, like,
Right. But they sometimes they take that as the gospel, what they're saying.
they do, they do,
And
That's why I'm
it
always
shouldn't be that
transparent
way.
with her. Like, listen, this is what it is. And
Yeah.
please learn from me. I want her to
mm-hmm,
learn from my mistakes and the
yeah,
Yeah,
things that
exactly.
I didn't
yeah,
do too well, or that I could do over again. I wish I could. I try
mm-hmm.
to tell her those things so that she can take those lessons on. And she may fall. I mean, she may have to learn
they,
herself,
they,
but it
they'll
won't be
be
because she don't know.
right, and that's what I think about my boys. I'm like, they're gonna fall, but they're not gonna fall like I fell, because I'm gonna be here, and I mean, you gotta fall a little bit to
Hmm.
learn, so, but you can't keep them in a bubble, but so, it's all part of the learning process. So.
But
Yeah.
have either of you ever been put in a situation or experienced a situation like in a relationship where your pride was so high and so thick, so present, where you actually chose pride over the relationship? So like you literally let somebody walk out your life,
Hmm.
or you walked away because you didn't want to drop your pride?
Hmm.
That's a
I mean, when I was a teenager, I ghosted somebody because of pride. They did something I thought wasn't cool. They broke one of my laws or my sins or whatever I thought, and
one of your
I
10 Commandments, right?
I stopped. Yeah, and I just cold turkey just stopped talking to them. Like
Mm,
didn't answer their calls and just deaded
Oh,
it.
wow.
Yeah, didn't talk to them about it. Didn't do the breakup. Nothing. Just stopped talking to them.
mm.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was pride. Just not dealing with it. That was really prideful of me
yeah,
at the time.
yeah,
So I could say that in hindsight.
yeah.
But in later in serious relationships, definitely, I mean, self reflection over time, just in certain situations, it's like let go of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
when it's something worth it. Like I don't, I mean, pride can stop you from even getting into a good opportunity or a good relationship, or it can. So
Or even help, even getting
yeah,
help for things like, because
yeah,
Hmm.
you could have a partner and they're just trying to help you see what the mistakes that you're making. They're there, they love you, they're trying
mhm,
to help you, but
mhm,
you know, and I'm guilty of this. I've been guilty of just like, my wife has told me before, I'm not the enemy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm not the enemy. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that you're upset, but I'm not the
Whew.
enemy. I'm not, that's something that has actually stuck with me. And it's something that whenever we get into, or I get upset or whatever's going on, and I'm talking to her, we're communicating, and I'm getting frustrated or whatever, or she's not telling me what I want to hear, and I'm getting, you know what I mean? But,
yeah,
that's something that she has told me, and it's stuck in my head, and it gives me, it makes me think before I say certain things. I'm like, okay,
mhm,
I think for a minute. I'm like, wait a minute here, just relax for a minute. She's not the enemy. You know what I mean? You are in
yeah,
this. You are in this together. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
yeah,
okay, I might be hurting, struggling, whatever, but then it's like she's hurting too because she is my, you know. So I'm not doing this by myself. I'm not the only one hurting here. We are in this together.
Hmm.
We are one because we are married. We are one. If I'm hurting, if she's hurting, I know I'm hurting. So why would I think that she's not hurting because I'm hurting? And then why would I treat her
Hmm.
like the enemy? Like, you know what I mean? So that's one thing that she has told me. And, just getting help, just people, your significant other, or not, it doesn't have to be a relationship. It could be a friend. It could be just somebody
mhm,
who's trying to help you. You know what I mean? They're trying to
mhm,
make you see the errors and the things that and
mhm,
just be open. Be open to
mhm,
listen. Be open. Don't let your pride, not let you take advice, or don't think that you're too proud, or too much, or there's nothing wrong with you, or that's not what it is. At least take a minute to try to search and see, okay, this person told me this. Well, let me take a minute to maybe, it could be that. I don't know. Let me go, so that's another thing, being able to get help, and, not being too proud to receive help, from
mhm.
people. So,
It's good to not only be able to teach, but be teachable.
oh, for sure.
Ah,
Teachable
word,
till the day
word.
you expire. Teach
Absolutely.
Always learning until the day you're gone, because we're always going to be learning. Always.
But see, it'll be
That's
that
right.
pride that'll stand in the way from
Mm-hmm.
someone trying to
Mhm,
receive the lessons that,
Yep.
because I do believe that any relationship, any friendship, even whether it's family, romantic, whatever, friends,
mhm,
people people are here in our lives to teach us things,
Mm-hmm.
different lessons,
Yeah.
and it's whether or not we're open and vulnerable to accept those lessons,
Yeah.
and then what we do with
right.
it, you
Right.
know.
Yeah, I remember one time years ago when I was before my wife and I were married, and we were living in apartments together, and I just remember, like, a maintenance man or I don't know if he was a maintenance man or so anyway, he came in and I just remember him telling me, it's almost like, I don't know, he just came in and he told me like, you know, it was just me there, and then he was like, oh, you know, just, you know, small talk or whatever, and then he just he was like, oh, so, you know, you live by yourself? What? I was like, no, I live here with my girl, whatever. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you got a good woman? He's like, yeah. And I was like, and then he just was like, man, if you got a good woman, be true. I just remember him just saying, be true to her. You know, be true to you got a good woman. And it's just like that was something that I needed to hear at that time, but I don't feel like I've really yielded to it, or didn't really, you know what I mean, for whatever reason. And I just never forget that, you know what I mean. So it's like, sometimes we need to hear things, and we got to be open to, you know, people cross our paths and are in our lives for a reason, you know. And,
totally.
So, you know, so it's very important.
Just be open and receptive, basically.
Absolutely.
Don't be don't be all closed off and guarded all the time. It's not always in your best interest.
Right.
Because then you'll miss lessons like that. Like if you're not open to receive, you will definitely miss the lessons. I had a very, I don't know if I ever spoke about it on our podcast, but my very first trip to New Orleans, it was a guy by the name of Terry. I don't know if he comes across our
He
watches it every week religiously.
But he is married, and came across him actually because he was the Uber driver, right? And we're driving around. He's you know, and then I don't know, but he was also like a pastor or something, some sort of a clergyman. Excuse me, I'm not well versed on what these levels, you know, but he was, and he was expressing about relationships. He just got into this conversation about relationships, and he was like, in relationships, it's important to, and he was like, you have to die to yourself. Like, you have to kill yourself. And I was like, here we go. And right off, my mind was just like, here we go. Yet another man. And I said it to him. I was like, another man who's against relationships. Like, you know, I'm just talking. And he's like, no. He's like, no, what I'm saying is, in relationships, you have to die to yourself, because that's a selfish way of thinking. Like, it can't even, it's never about you. He's like, when two people get together, it's servitude. You're supposed to be serving to each other and being of service to one another. And if both people are consistently doing that within that relationship, all needs are being met. He's like, now it won't always be, that scale is going to tip, you know, side to side from time to time. And he's like, and that's okay. He was like, but the important thing is to regroup and get it back on track. He was like, don't stay in that tipping phase for too long. So I was like, I see what you did there. I was like, that's, you know, very, that's some good advice right there. And then he's like, and that's what it's about. And he's like, so you can't, if you take selfish ways into a relationship, it's doomed to fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to this day, and I'm going to tell you, that visit was definitely, I to this day, I was like, that was a spiritual trip, because at that time, so much was going on in the relationship I was in at the time, where that was definitely needed. He brought so much to what I needed at that moment, what was needed in the relationship at that time, the help that was needed. But again, Rex, like you said, is like, if you are not looking at the lessons to take it on, you're gonna miss it.
Yeah.
Now, I definitely took those lessons. Like, because I knew, I was like, there's a reason why at this moment this man has come into our lives. Like, there's a reason. And I'm not too arrogant not to see that.
Well, you were open and susceptible to, you know, to that, and that was a good thing. You know what I mean? And that you know, so for sure. Yeah.
That was a definite. That was definite divine. This divine. I don't know how to put it, but on that trip, it just was. It just connected.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, the universe will definitely throw out our lessons to us. Hey, like, hey, you need to straighten up. Here's this example. Here's this help. Whether or not you take it, you can't force somebody to take it.
Right.
You could just provide it. It gets provided to us. And to this day, I am friends with that man and his wife.
Oh, that's cool.
And
that's nice.
they are wonderful people.
Yeah, that's
wonderful
cool.
people.
Wow. That's awesome.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Sure. But we are unfortunately at the top of the hour, or at the end of the hour, or whatever.
These conversations always go so fast.
I know they do.
Yeah.
Like, it's so.
Yeah.
They go so fast.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Indeed.
And that was a really.
But it was a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the lesson out there, young. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cass.
No, I want to say I don't know. It's about something about this conversation that just made me really thankful.
Yeah. That's good.
Really thankful. So.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope to get, that our listeners, the people who tune in, I really do hope that we're doing that to give that to somebody.
Right.
Word.
Definitely.
Word.
That's for sure.
Don't let pride stand in the way, because you can lose good things in your life, beneficial things and people, by allowing pride to rule you.
Right. And always be open and susceptible to, just learning. And even if it's something that's you don't think that's what it is, maybe just give it a chance, maybe just a little bit of soul searching just to see, because you never know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially if it's coming from a loved one, because if you have a loved one that loves you, you know what I mean? Like, just listen to what they have to say, because, so.
But pride will also have somebody not thinking somebody love them.
Well, that yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they're just not allowing themselves to be open and to see that and to receive that.
Right. Wow. It has
listen to the universe, everybody, because it never fails to be showing you or teaching you.
Pride will make you feel like it's you against the world, And
wow.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to episode 9.
Dang, 9.
Yeah, episode 9.
I can't believe that.
So our next episode will be episode 10. That's our anniversary 10. we celebrate the small victories over here.
Word.
This podcast. Yeah, but
Word.
yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button and liking the video. That really helps us. We want to gain followers. We want to connect with you guys. We do this for you guys. So just help us out. Definitely share the video with people. Just pass it on.
Please.
Yeah, definitely.
Pass it on.
Pass it on.
I've been falling off myself and not sharing it. I gotta get back on track with that.
Yeah.
Rex like,
I know.
yeah.
But
All
right, everyone, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye, everybody.
All right, guys.
Peace.
Peace out.